71% of CEOs experience imposter syndrome. Let that sink in. Think about that. The people who run the world feel like frauds. So you think to yourself, if CEOs feel fake, what chance do you have, right? But here's also what's interesting. When we feel imposter syndrome, it almost feels like we have a disorder we need to fix. But what if I told you that imposter syndrome isn't your problem? The real problem is allowing how you feel to suppress your superpower. I'm Jason Nova. I'm an author, I'm a comic creator, I'm an entrepreneur who spent years thinking I was lucky instead of skilled. So in the next 6 minutes, I'll show you why imposter syndrome is actually a sign of intelligence, how society weaponizes it to keep you small, and 3 ways you can actually flip it into your biggest advantage. I used to think when I got successful, it was an accident. If I closed a big business deal, it was chance. If a book of mine was getting traction, I told people I was, lucky. When something great happened for my business, then I just credited random timing. When people called me an expert, and this was such a big one, I felt like a fraud who would be exposed any moment. And then I discovered something that changed everything. Research actually shows that people with imposter syndrome tend to be more competent than those without it, right? So it turns out that feeling like a fake might mean you're the real deal. Note, I did not say that being more competent is being more successful. Competence does not equate to success, right? So to be better than the guy doesn't mean you're more successful than the guy. So according to that Conferry research, 71% of US CEOs experience symptoms of imposter syndrome in their role as CEOs. Meanwhile, according to another study by Personnel Today's research, 78% of people in science and pharmaceuticals report having imposter syndrome. So if you think about this, I want you to notice a pattern. The most competent people often feel the most fraudulent, which is kind of weird. You know who doesn't have imposter syndrome? Incompetent people with massive egos. Sound familiar? There's something known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, and it proves this perfectly. This is a psychological phenomenon where people with low ability overestimate their competence because they lack the knowledge to recognize their own incompetence, which is ironic. Basically, the less skilled someone is, the more confident they're going to feel about their abilities. Essentially, society has convinced the smart, capable people that their self-awareness is a disease, while actual frauds walk around with bulletproof confidence, right? I want you to stop for a while and think about your workplace. Who gets promoted faster? Is it a thoughtful person who's questioning their decisions, who's careful about speaking up, or the loud guy who never doubts himself? Exactly, it's very likely the loud guy. Imposter syndrome isn't random. According to yet another research by Personnel Today, people with PhDs are almost twice as likely to experience it, 62%, compared to those with secondary school education, at 33%. So essentially, the smarter you get, the more you realize that you don't know. The more you know, the more you know that you don't know. And that's not dysfunction. That's actually just real knowledge and a huge dose of understanding. But here's the reality. If you constantly question yourself, you then start to undervalue your worth. Think about it. You work harder to prove yourself. You charge less because you don't think you're worth it. You don't negotiate because you're grateful for the opportunity. You don't start a business because who am I to compete, right? Meanwhile, mediocre people with zero self-doubt are launching businesses, demanding raises, taking credit for even your work. That's just the way the world works. So listen to this. The uncomfortable truth is that imposter syndrome is often a sign that you're operating at a level that challenges your previous identity. That's just a fancy way to say you're growing. So how do you weaponize this to your advantage? So I'm going to talk about 3 mindset shifts that will change everything. They've been amazing for me and hopefully they're great for you. The first mindset shift is understand that imposter syndrome often indicates that you have high standards. That's true. You tend to feel fake because you have high standards for competence. That voice in your mind saying, I don't know enough, you can flip it around so it doesn't sabotage you, but start to look at it like quality control, right? So a very practical way to apply this is next time you feel like a fraud, I'm not good enough, I can ask yourself, what specific skill can I develop to feel more legitimate? Then go and develop the skill. Your imposter syndrome just gave you a learning roadmap and begins to work for you, not against you. The second mindset shift is understand that a little self-doubt can give you strategic advantage. People who don't have imposter syndrome don't question the decisions, they just go. But people with imposter syndrome are constantly improving, learning, adapting if they allow themselves get beyond self-doubt. So, before your next big decision, ask yourself, what am I missing? What could go wrong? Don't get paralyzed. Your self-doubt will force you to prepare better than someone who is overconfident and your competition. And now here's the most important part, the third part. Fake it till you make it. You've heard it. Or in corporate speak, take on strategic role playing. Basically, act the part before you feel ready for it. If you're in the room, you deserve to be in the room, whether you feel like it or not. Just act accordingly. You're not being fake. You're growing into a new identity. Every expert was once a beginner, pretending to know what they were doing. If you talk to a lot of startup CEOs that are successful, they'll say, at the start we had no idea what we were doing. And that's just the way it is. So instead of saying, I'm not qualified, say, I'm qualified enough to start. Then document your learning process. You start to realize that competence is built through action and not perfection. Most people will just keep letting imposter syndrome paralyze them, and they keep waiting for permission to be great, waiting to feel ready, waiting for someone else to validate their worth. According to HRD America, in 2024, searches for imposter syndrome surged by 75%. That means millions of capable people are Googling why they feel like frauds instead of using that intelligence to build something incredible. Here's what I want you to understand. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not skill. It's actually permission. You deciding to give yourself permission. You're more qualified than you think. You're already smarter than the competition. You're already capable of achieving impossible dreams. The only thing stopping you is the belief in your head that someone else gets to decide if you're good enough, for somebody else to validate you. And I'm not accusing you, this happens to me as well. So here's my question. Are you going to keep letting a sign of intelligence that you have hold you back? Or are you going to use your high standards to build something extraordinary? I want you to drop a comment with the dream that you've been calling yourself unqualified for. I want to see that in the comments. And I want you to subscribe if you want more content about turning your supposed weaknesses into superpowers and being your best self. So stay smart, stay questioning, stay dangerous, and as always, I'll see you on the next one.